Day 2 of the U.S. Lacrosse Fall Classic here in Sparks, Maryland continues with a matchup of the defending NCAA national champion Virginia Cavaliers and the defending world champions, the USA men's national team. And with that, we welcome you back here to Sparks, Maryland. Day 2 of the Fall Classic continues alongside Matt DeSilva. I'm Travis Eldridge. Matt, this is so much fun. We get a chance to see the defending national champs against the defending world champs in UVA. Not only coming off a national title, they return a lot of talent from that team.
Yeah, what a beautiful day here at U.S. Lacrosse. And if last night was any harbinger, that nail-biter between the USA and Canada, expect the U.S. team to be a little bit more woke today as they go against the defending national champions.
Let's take a look at some of our players to watch for Virginia. If you watched that run to the national title a year ago, you'll recognize these names.
No question, Matt Moore, the hero of that national championship run, the first 40-40 player in UVA history, has been experimenting with some different techniques, Coach Lars Tiffany said. They're encouraging him to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more unconventional. So look for that today. And Lax Aiken, one of the best pure midfielders in the country, pure scoring midfielders. He's first-time All-American, obviously has some experience within the U.S. team program from the U19 squad, so he won't be shy on this stage either.
What about for the United States? Who are we looking at?
After last night, I'm really looking at Brian Phipps. He had a tremendous start against Canada, made some great sprawling saves, really strong presence, veteran presence for this team. Is the oldest position player on the squad and someone who's just quintessentially likable from top to bottom.
And also Garrett Epple on defense. You got to keep your eye on for this USA men's national team. Let's get into our keys for Virginia. The fall is all about learning, trying to figure out what you have from a year ago. What are you looking at for Virginia to try to figure out here today?
Out of the gate, we want to see very high energy. That's something that Lars Tiffany said they lacked a little bit going against Penn State in their first fall ball scrimmage. He doesn't mind what happens on the scoreboard as long as they're playing with their hair on fire. That's the UVA way. Timing of the slides, he said they were there against Penn State. They were just maybe a little bit of a half second off. So look for that defense to work better together today. And then ride with 2, 3, and 5. That attack, that attack unit, we talk about all their scoring, but their riding ability, expect them to create some hassles for the U.S. in the clear.
And then for the U.S., it's a team that struggled last night against Canada. What do they need to do to be a little bit cleaner here this afternoon against UVA?
Yeah, opposite Virginia's strength of the ride, Team USA really needs to be organized and communicative in its clearing game. Wing play, that duo for Virginia of Petey LaSala and Jared Connors, that unit, they work really well together. So how will the U.S. combat that? And then I kind of came up with this key before last night as far as don't be overconfident if you're the U.S., and I don't expect that will be too much of a problem today.
And so an exciting day here at U.S. Lacrosse headquarters continues. Here's a look at Connor Schellenberger, number 1 in that white uniform. Our first look here in the fall of getting a chance to see the number 1 overall recruit. And I think it was interesting, Matt, in talking with Lars Tiffany about him and the fact that he actually has had some of the other top recruits that are on this roster, like a Lax Aiken or a Matt Moore, talk to Connor about what the expectation is for a guy who comes in with that big label of being the number 1 guy in the country.
Yeah, it seems like a rite of passage, a perennial thing here at UVA where they have this highly touted recruiting class. Not only Schellenberger, but with Bauer and Ty, they've got 3 of the top 5 recruits in the class of 2019. An embarrassment of riches, but with that comes a little bit of pressure and maybe the tendency to try to do too much. And so you're right, with guys like Lax Aiken and Matt Moore, they become mentors now to someone like Connor Schellenberger and let him know that it's okay to make mistakes and that he's not quite there yet, but they're going to help him get there.
And he's a local kid who grew up in Charlottesville. So on top of all of that, you're in your hometown playing lacrosse for a team that just won a national championship. Lots of expectations for number 1 in white. We'll see a number of different times from him. He likely will run out of the second midfield unit that we'll see here to start the game. At the face-off X, like it was in the national championship game, it's Petey LaSala taking the opening draw for Virginia. He'll go up against the former 4-time All-American Trevor Baptiste for Team USA.
Be interesting to see if this U.S. face-off unit gets into a little bit more of a groove after they struggled last night but really turn it on down the end. Of course, Joe Nardella with that surprising game-winning goal against Team Canada in the final seconds.
Lax Aiken on one of the wings for Virginia there. The midfielder gets the ground ball and gets an offensive set for the defending national champs.
Aiken doing his best Ryan Conrad impression there. Beast on the wings.
Guy who's a terrific athlete, has been primarily an offensive midfielder. Maybe we see a little bit more from him going both ways here this season as he continues to grow up in this program. Here is Aiken on the wing. And he draws an early flag, so UVA a free possession here in front. Michael Kraus stopped by Brian Phipps, and that triggers the penalty.
Phipps picking up where he left off last night with the doorstop save. But an early man down here for Team USA.
So our first look at the man-up unit for Virginia. Subbing in, you got Regan Quinn, the junior from Rockville Center for Virginia. He joins Kraus, Moore, Aiken, Laviano, and Peyton Cormier. Kraus's pass a little high, but Aiken able to handle it. Moore from the top. Shot just high.
And you have to figure Virginia has an advantage in special teams situations like this, just given all the practice they've had together versus this Team USA unit.
And the penalties released. Coming in and making a nice play is Mark Glicini. Creates the turnover for the U.S. Transition chance for Garrett Eppel, and the long pole buries it. Team USA up 1-0.
Couldn't draw it up better for Team USA on this transition. Big time play by Mark Glicini in the defensive end to get it going. Finds Eppel, and Virginia just slow to slide, willing to have the long pole take his shot, and he takes full advantage.
So the U.S. didn't really get an offensive set yet, but they're on the board first with that transition chance. A faster start for them than last night. They had to come back to beat Canada 7-6. They scored 2 goals in the final minute of that one. Game winner coming from Joe Nardella, who had stayed on after the faceoff win. One of the 3 faceoff guys the U.S. has. The other one, Greg Gorenley, and the Beast wins this to himself. Quickly over to Marcus Holman. That shot well wide, and Virginia wins the race to the end line. Kyle Koloji with the heads-up hustle to the end. Alex Rode in a little bit of trouble, but moves it along. Scott Bauer, one of the freshman defensemen that Virginia is looking at here, and there's a turnover in the transition game. U.S. gets it to Will Manny, who scored the game-tying goal last night. With this Virginia defense, Matt, between Quentin Matsui, Scott Bauer, and Jake Giulieri, 3 freshmen who are going to see a lot of time at close defense, especially here today with Cade Sawstad not dressing, and he's on the sideline with an injury here this fall.
Yeah, also coming off with Logan Greco graduating last year. It's this part of the field that makes Lars Tiffany a little bit nervous here as they prepare for this national title defense. And Koloji's going to be a big part of what they're able to do on the defensive end, a former walk-on and a team leader.
Manny to Holman, the quick stick finish. The Utah coaching staff connecting to make it 2-0.
USA men goal by number 1, Marcus Holman.
You think those two have maybe learned each other's tendencies?
Maybe a little bit.
After a summer playing with the Archers and PLL, the top 2 scorers in the league from a goal-scoring standpoint, and it's Manny operating behind the cage. Kind of an unusual spot for him, but Holman finds a seam and is able to stick the goal.
These two have been teammates. They've been roommates. They are on the same coaching staff, both assistant coaches at University of Utah. It's hard to find one and not the other. Marcus Holman and Will Manny as Joe Nardella wins another faceoff, and the U.S. gets another offensive set. Much better start for the U.S. here today. Quickly, another strike. The U.S. on fire here early. It's Brent Adams coming out of the box to make it 3-0.
3 goals in 5 minutes to start this game. Certainly a much different story than what we saw last night out of the U.S. They're pushing transition. They're injecting tempo into the game. kind of a surprising element given that we're playing under international rules. And there's Brent Adams, one of the best two-way midfielders in the game. Clearly a great defensive presence, but he showed you there. He's got a shot as well. He can shoot on the run and really cause damage at both ends of the field.
Brent Adams, a guy who had a terrific summer in the PLL, finally healthy after he had struggled with some injuries for about a year and a half, kept him out of the indoor season, kept him out of past outdoor pro seasons as well, but now he's healthy and showing you the athleticism that made him one of the best two-way midfielders before he had gotten hurt.
And he's dabbled in this U.S. team player pool before. He's played in some U.S. events prior, and he's one of those guys that could be really aching to get his chance as this team regenerates looking at the 2021 World Games and 2022 World Championship.
So Virginia gets a face-off win on the violation, and Dox Aiken goes to work. He draws the short stick matchup here with Will Haas. Aiken navigating, looking for some space now. Moves it along to Kraus. Back to Aiken. Long range shot goes. Virginia on the board with Dox Aiken's first.
Virginia goal by number 6, Dox Aiken. With the assist by number 2, Michael Kraus.
Great patience here by Kraus as he has his defender hung up. He's operating behind the goal. Look at all the helmets turned toward Kraus, and there's Dox Aiken. Skip feed over the top and a little worm burner. Nice low-to-low finish to get UVA on the board.
Dox Aiken coming off a spectacular season, broke his own UVA single-season record for points by a midfielder, putting up 52 a year ago. As P.D. LaSalle has a beat on this ground ball, but he can't scoop it up. Ball still loose. Gurenlian can't handle it. Eventually scooped up here by Team USA. And they look to get a possession here as Glacini gets it to Will Manny. Good play by Jared Newman. Getting his first chance to wear red, white, and blue, able to win that ground ball on the wing.
Yeah, and earlier you're getting a look at that chaos rope tandem of Newman and Glacini. Those guys obviously also familiar with each other coming off the summer.
Holman sends it behind to Rob Pennell. Looked to be one of the veteran guys. And Pennell wraps around the far side. Team USA back on the board.
Team USA goal by number 3.
And that's a little bit of a welcome to the show moment for Scott Bauer. Talk about throwing a freshman into the fire. All he has to do is guard Rob Pennell. And that change of direction behind the goal, that you're not seeing that at the high school level. So a beautiful backhand finish by Pennell. Nice answer for Team USA after UVA got on the board, back to a 3-goal lead.
And Pennell, one of those guys on Matt Danowski's U.S. team and in this program that Danowski looking to see if he can be one of those older veteran leaders when we look ahead to the 2022 World Championship. So you got a violation on the U.S. to give Virginia another possession here. That was our first look at Gavin Ty, the freshman face-off man for the Cavaliers. And he has really impressed this coaching staff for Lars Tiffany so far this fall.
Yeah, it's saying something that he's really pushing P.D. LaSalle and Justin Schwenk as well, a very capable veteran face-off guy for some of these draws. So UVA definitely 3 deep at the exposition.
Here's Jeff Connor taking a long run from around the midfield stripe. Moves it along to Michael Kraus. Kraus, one of the All-Americans, part of this offense, third-team All-American a year ago. His pass a little high, though, and it's an over and back. And Pennell quickly the other way. A lot of pressure on this young Virginia defense to start things off in this first quarter. Close to 5 minutes to go. And how about these tests for a bunch of freshman close defensemen? Last weekend they took on Penn State and that potent offense, and now you're playing Team USA.
with Canada on deck.
With Canada coming up as we've got a flag down. Certainly, you could not be more battle-tested in the fall than what Virginia is going through with these scrimmages.
Yeah. I think Lars Tiffany said it when we talked to him earlier this week. He said, do I need to be a psychologist after this or a psychiatrist? Are we going to have some couch time with these kids? Because really throwing them through the gauntlet. And it's a great thing. There's, as far as if you're worried about any championship hangover, this can be the comeuppance can come with this lineup in the fall.
So man-up opportunity for the U.S. for the first time. Skip pass. Out to Adams, a stop by Alex Rode. Rhodes' first stop of the afternoon. Miles Jones moves along to Holman. Step down shot just a little wide. Connor Busick with a good look, and we are back to even strength.
And to show you how much Team USA respects Brent Adams' two-way capabilities, he's out there with the man-up unit.
Tough pass from Busick to Pinnell, and it's knocked away and scooped up. Nice play by Kaloji. John Fox, the short stick defensive midfielder. Trying to fill some of those roles lost. That was one of the big holes for Virginia coming into this year. That short stick D-midi unit was full of some senior leaders, and so trying to find the holes there will be interesting to watch for Virginia as well.
Yeah, and we just got to look at John Fox. He's the most experienced of them, played in all 20 games last year.
Matt Moore goes to work at X here. Moore wrapping far side, takes a little shot, no flag. Dox Aiken now working at the top against Jared Newman. It's a fun combination of size and athleticism here. Moore, a little flip in front, and nobody home. It's taken away by Tim Muller.
Nice defense there by Newman on Aiken, that tough matchup.
Matt Cavanaugh quickly to Pinnell at X, and now the U.S. will settle things down.
No Mike Earhart here today for Team USA. He's a little banged up coming off the PLL season, so they get an opportunity to see some other long poles. Certainly you would think he'd still be in the equation moving forward. World Championship MVP of 2018, but Jared Newman certainly making his case this weekend.
Team USA takes a timeout and want to talk things over with just under 2 minutes to go in this first quarter. You look back at what happened last night for Team USA, and they were down and out. Canada has the ball late in that game with essentially a chance to run out the clock. They cause a turnover. They get the game-tying goal and the game winner. That has to get a little jolt of enthusiasm into this roster as they come into today.
No question. There was a little bit of a sleepy vibe to everything yesterday, and really Team USA was not sharp. I think the turning point would have been after Justin Inacio for Canada scores that goal to punctuate a 3-goal run. Ensuing faceoff, Greg Gorenley, the veteran, comes out and answers himself with a beautiful diving score off the faceoff win. And then the fourth quarter, the Team USA just kind of kept chipping away. Definitely got better organized on defense. And then, boy, that last minute was just fantastic. And Will Manny really took over. Scored the game-tying goal, had the wherewithal to see that Joe Nardella was open for that game winner. It looked like Nardella was going to try to retreat, and instead he stayed on. Manny found him. Game over.
And Mark Lucini, who was making his Team USA debut this weekend at the Fall Classic, one of the key guys down that stretch who created a couple of plays, won a couple of ground balls, including the ground ball off that faceoff that eventually led to the game-winning goal for Team USA.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that actually came as a recommendation to Coach John Danowski from his son, Matt Danowski. Said the guy is a great teammate. No surprise that he won PLL Teammate of the Year. Universally liked as far as a locker room guy. He really strikes me as a USA guy, a Danowski guy. Of course, those two, Matt Danowski and Glicini, they played together with the Bayhawks in MLL last year, so he had that familiarity. And certainly, again, another guy that's making a good first impression this weekend.
And when you talk to Coach John Danowski or Seth Tierney, Joe Amplo, any part of this coaching staff, they will tell you such an important part is not only your skill and your ability on the field, but is how do you fit into that team mold? How do you fit into the locker room culture that they have created with this program? Something they've carried over now to their second run at a world championship when this staff agreed to come on and stay on for 2022.
Yeah, they're probably doing more listening than watching. You know, how guys are communicating with each other on the sideline, what they're saying out in the field, things like that. Their body language. It all speaks volumes.
Team USA coming out of the timeout with the offensive set. Connor Kelly, who had a nice game last night, goes up to make that catch, gets his man to fall down. Tough pass all the way across and a turnover. Excuse me, no, they're going to say a deflection. The official up here by midfield signaling that thing was off of Virginia's stick, so it stays with Team USA. And John Haas starts from the top of the box. Mike Chanichuk trying to pass it through. It's knocked down. Stays with the U.S. with just about a minute to go in the opening quarter. This is Jules Henningberg, another guy making his Team USA debut this weekend. Coming off a great summer in the PLL. Henningberg draws the double team. Alex Rode well out of the cage. Chanichuk can't get in front, though. Tough pass to Cavanaugh. 30 seconds to go in the quarter. Remember, no shot clock in the international rules, so no limit for Team USA on how long they can take. Chanichuk from distance, stopped by Rode. Good hold by Virginia. 10 seconds to go if they push. Matt Moore with 3, sends it in front. Brings us to the end of the first quarter. Team USA coming out with a little bit more enthusiasm, excitement through the first 15 minutes. The reigning world champions have a 4-1 lead after 15 minutes. Reminder, Big Sky football back on 11 Sports on Saturday, October 26th, with the top 25 matchup between Weber State and UC Davis. The number 4 Wildcats of Weber State entered this weekend having won 21 of their last 23 against Big Sky opponents. The Aggies of UC Davis are in the polls for the 20th straight week, coming in at number 23, and like the Wildcats, advanced to the FCS quarterfinals a year ago. Weber State at UC Davis is next Saturday, October 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Big Sky football on 11 Sports. Back here on Lax Sports Network, you have Virginia, the defending national champions, looking to cut into this Team USA lead. The U.S. with a 4-1 lead after 15 minutes. Travis Eldridge, Matt DeSilva back with you. The opening face-off of the second, and it's Gavin Ty, the freshman, once again taking the draw for the Cavaliers. And they got a whistle on the U.S., so Virginia will start the second with an offensive possession. Once again, Dox Aiken running the wings, and I think that's been an interesting thing to watch so far here today.
Yeah, no question. He's one of these leaders of this team that's going to even have to enhance his skill set further to accommodate what is a pretty short position for UVA as far as those strict short stick defensive midfielders, so they like him on the wing.
Here's another one of those freshmen, Michael Biankowski, freshman from Islip, New York. Moves it along to Peyton Cormier. Cormier slips down, battles through the defense, all the way through and scores! The redshirt freshman gets the Cavaliers back within 2.
He's 6'2", 200 pounds, big-bodied, attack midfielder, slash kind of guy. and they're very excited at UVA to see what he can bring to the table this season. Went down with an ACL injury just about 1 year ago. It was in November. So from a recovery timeline standpoint, he's just reaching stride, and there he just bodies his way to the goal.
Peyton Cormier really excited this UVA coaching staff so far this fall. Had 3 goals in that scrimmage against Penn State last weekend. And he was really one of the standouts from that Penn State-Virginia scrimmage as he sees his first real action in college, and he could be a big addition to this already potent UVA offense. Miles Jones out of the box. Little fake stop by Rode. Kavanaugh the rebound, and the putback goes. Can happen that quickly as USA is back on the board.
One of the things that might have gotten lost in Team USA's win last night is just how good their attack was in the ground ball game. And you see it here again today against UVA. Miles Jones, beautiful fake there to get wide open. The stop by Rode, but it's Matt Kavanaugh right there on the doorstep cleaning it up. And that is answer for Team USA.
That is vintage Matt Kavanaugh. Type of plays he made at Notre Dame, the type of plays he still makes now in the PLL. As Petey LaSala gets a face-off win. The Cavs go back to work offensively.
Yeah, both Kavanaugh and Holman, just awesome ground ball guys. They're just always around the ball and seem to come up with it in every situation.
This is Jeff Connor, the sophomore midfielder out of Wallingford, Pennsylvania. Had 14 points a year ago, including 4 assists during the NCAA tournament, a highly regarded recruit entering last season. And now he's got his man inverted behind at X. Now to Matt Moore. Schellenberger quickly moves along to Jack Peel. The U.S. able to recover defensively.
UVA wants to see Connor be a little bit more assertive within their offense, especially as the top gun on this second midfield line. You know, he can provide that secondary scoring punch that proves so critical in games like this.
Moore looking to create against Matt Dunn. Now Connor Schellenberger, top overall recruit, the freshman. Connor draws the slide. Now Moore in front to Kraus in some traffic, and it ends up in the stick of Phipps.
Nice defensive stand by the U.S. You saw Connor was a little hesitant to go to his left hand, so they maintained top side, and as he turned, that exchange, U.S. was able to collapse on the ball and cause a turnover.
Brian Phipps taking his time with this clear. That ball went out of bounds on that far sideline, and so it goes right back to UVA.
A lot of lines out on the field here today. You had the women's games earlier. This game, they're operating by the white lines. You also see some yellow lines on the field, and those will be for tomorrow's Olympic trial rules, small-sided version scrimmage that Canada and the USA are going to try out, both on the men's and women's side.
Be interesting to see the potential rules that could be used in the Olympic Games. We look forward to possibly 2028. Dox Aiken, it's stopped by Phipps. And he pulls it off in the crease. Brian Phipps had a really good first half last night, but he's taken a beating, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been a long weekend at the office for the big guy, but he's really standing up well to it. And you know, this goes back to what he did last year in the Fall Classic against Yale. I mean, he's been just steady Eddie. And again, another one of those guys that was right there on the cusp of the 2018 U.S. team. And he speaks to the depth of the program.
Chanichuk out of the box. Shoots high. Mike Chanichuk led the PLO with 7 two-pointers. Obviously not a skill that works well for you in the international game, but showcasing the range and ability to shoot from distance.
Yeah, no two-pointers, but you still need stretch shooters. Otherwise you're looking at a team like Canada that will just sit back in the zone. And
Jules Henningberg stopped by Rode, and the rebound scooped up by Virginia. Here's Jared Connors, the LSM in transition. Kraus back to Connors. Connors, a long pole goal. Had 5 goals a year ago for Virginia. He's got 1 here today against USA.
28 in white, looking a lot like 28 in blue. A little Jared Newman impression. But Jared Connors running the break. It's kind of a slow break. It was a bit of a 4-on-4 there for a second. Nice job, just speed to get the ball up the field. See him dump it off to the wing, set the pick, and then Team USA just loses him on the inside. Great handle with the long pole and the little backhand finish. I mean, that's some great stick work with that long pole.
Jared Connors, the junior from Pittsford, New York, as a violation on Petey LaSala, gives the faceoff win to Trevor Baptiste in the U.S. What a year Jared Connors had last season. 57 ground balls, 27 caused turnovers to go along with the 6 points. Virginia continues to hang around. Miles Jones working against Rock there for Virginia. Skip pass across. Long range shot. I don't know what that hit, but it stayed out somehow. And Rode collects and gets a clearing opportunity.
And that was Brent Adams again showing his offensive flair. He looked like it pinged off the pipe and then hit Rode in the shoulder to stay out of the cage. But he's not only one of the fastest players on the field is Brent Adams, but he's also got one of the hardest shots. Again, witness they had him on man up earlier and there, playing in the 6-on-6 set. Now he's not a liability back on defense either.
No, a guy that having somebody who can go 2 ways like that is important in the international game as Matt Moore finds the side of the cage. Especially considering you only have so many roster spots, so somebody who can play defense and play offense, give you a little bit of versatility, important.
Absolutely. In the international game, you're looking at a 23-man roster. You need those slash guys. That includes guys you can run out of the box or keep down on attack. Someone like a Connor Kelly, we've seen a lot of him this weekend. Or, those 2-way midfielders, also a very critical part of the international game.
Give and go. Will Manny couldn't collect the pass, but Connor Kelly able to scoop up the ground ball and keep this possession for the U.S. under 6 minutes to go in the first half. Third game of the day here at the U.S. Lacrosse Fall Classic as a whistle gives it back to Virginia. I believe it was an illegal screen. As Jack Peel clears for UVA. This Virginia team will have a busy rest of the day. After playing the U.S., they'll also take on Canada. That game coming up 4:30 Eastern time. You can see it here on Lax Sports Network. That'll be interesting with the number of college players on the Canadian roster, so should be another good test for UVA. Peyton Cormier, and that's stopped by Phipps. Good hustle to the end line for the U.S. to get the possession.
Travis, we also talked about the audition element of this event with some of these college players that could be matriculating into the professional and international ranks in the coming years. We've gotten good looks early here at Michael Kraus, Dox Aiken, Jared Connors. Those guys are going to be PLL draft picks. We saw Peyton Cormier. I mean, is Canada not looking at someone like him in 3 or 4 years, considering the skill set he brings? So, this event has so much potential for a lot of these guys.
Rode well out of the cage. That shot is stopped as Marcus Holman tried to score from distance. But there is a flag down. A slashing call is... And it was against Alex Rhodes. So the goalie gets called for the slash. Virginia's going to call a timeout, and I believe that'll mean a look at Griffin Thompson, the backup goalie here for the Cavs.
Yeah, that's a wise timeout. I mean, you kind of get a little bit flustered in that situation when you got your goalie is the one that winds up in the penalty box. International rules, who can serve, how you get organized coming out of it. So good timeout here, and Griffin Thompson is a more than capable backup, one of the best backups in the country with tons of really good experience.
You take a look at Connor Schellenberger, who we've seen a little bit of so far for Virginia. And I think it was interesting in talking to Lars Tiffany, he wasn't panicked about a guy being #1 overall recruit. Maybe hasn't made as many waves as some people thought this fall, but a lot of expectations on him. And he said, you know what? Guys like Dox Aiken and Matt Moore, they didn't come and explode in the fall. They had an average fall, and then they exploded once they got to the spring.
Yeah, they're certainly taking the long view with him, seeing it as a 4-year investment, not someone who has to come in and make an immediate impact as a freshman. Their impact freshmen they're looking more for on the defensive end. So they have the liberty and the luxury of kind of bringing him along slowly, and he's going to benefit from that as well.
With Virginia, you mentioned the audition process, and a guy like Dox Aiken, a player like a Matt Moore, especially Aiken being a senior, and you look ahead to 2022, he's going to be a couple years removed from college. He looks to be the big physical type body that Team USA might like. Along with the U.S. evaluating what they have, you have to think they're looking across the field to UVA and seeing what some of the talent on this Cavaliers squad might look like in a USA jersey for years to come.
No question. And when you look toward the future with Team USA, midfield might be where there's the most opportunity. You probably don't anticipate someone like a Paul Rabel or Matt Danowski, those guys who are that was the more veteran unit of that 2018 team. So certainly there's an infusion of capability there, and someone like Dox Aiken, 2-time first-team All-American, clearly one of, if not the best midfielder in the country right now. He could be in that conversation.
Dox Aiken, of course, familiar with the U.S. program, having been part of that U19 team that won gold in 2016 in Canada.
Number 15, Griffin Thompson is in goal for the University of Virginia.
So Griffin Thompson does check in goal as Alex Rhodes serves this penalty. A man up for the U.S. Connor Kelly working from the top of the box. Scored a goal and had a beautiful assist last night. Took his eye off of that one for a second. But keeps it as he gets it along to John Haas. Looking for some space in this Virginia man-down defense. Long-range shot off the post. Look out. Almost came into the stance. Thing had some heat. John Haas quickly on the restart. Skip pass down low. Fake and score. Jules Henningberg on the board.
More heads-up feeding from Connor Kelly here. And Kelly really made his mark with this U.S. team 2 years ago in this event, the Fall Classic, competing both for and against Maryland as part of that USA mix. And there on this man-up possession, the skip feed down low to Henningberg, and great presence by Henningberg to fake low, shoot high, and stick it where the goalie is not. So short work there for Thompson, as now Rode will check back in.
Now back to even strength after the goal. Nice play by Petey LaSala to help Virginia win the faceoff. Skip pass across. Kraus stings the top. The low to high rip from Michael Kraus. The Cavs back on the board.
For UVA fans that might be worried about a championship hangover, Lars Tiffany says Michael Kraus has been training with, quote, intensity and purpose this fall. These guys, these seniors, Kraus, Aiken, they want to be better than last year's seniors. So the effort has been there all fall. Nice skip pass across the way from Laviano to find him there, finish off that break off the faceoff. Beautiful answer for UVA.
Violation on Joe Nardella. Another face-off win for the Cavs as Gavin Ty gets the victory. And right back to Michael Kraus in this offense. Despite the talent on the USA defense, when you look at the size and athleticism of the midfield especially, and Matt Moore at the attack, Virginia matches up with the size and athleticism of Team USA, which I think says a lot about Virginia's size and athleticism.
No question. Looking down on the field last night with USA and that young Canadian team, you could tell there was a tangible difference just in the sheer physicality and size that the guys presented. But here, UVA very much a peer in that endeavor.
Transition chance for the U.S. Holman behind the back, but it couldn't be completed on the far side by Henningberg, a crease violation. And the restart here for Virginia to get the possession back.
What an incredible feed from Holman to find Henningberg right there on the doorstep, and the diving one-timer just missed. Just that close to a SC top 10 type moment, because that was a pretty play.
36 seconds left to go in the half. Virginia and Lars Tiffany wants a timeout.
And congratulations to
Let's get another look at the almost top play.
Yeah, nice feed by Nardella, showing those ball skills again. And it's Holman coming across the middle, making the only play he can with that behind-the-back pass as the Virginia defense converge, and Henningberg just unable to corral it.
Just missed, and Alex Rode, glad that he's not on the wrong end of a highlight reel finish. Dancing around here after, he had some ups and downs throughout last year, but he was great during that Final Four run. And Alex Rode back here for another season, the junior from nearby Maryland.
Yeah, Rode 18 saves in that epic semifinal comeback win over Duke, then 13 saves in the final against Yale. So he saved his best for last, and boy, did Virginia need it.
And, of course, great depth at that goalie position as well, as we've seen Griffin Thompson. And we do have an injury. I didn't notice when this happened. Number 29, Hall Peters, the defenseman, get helped off there. We hope for the best for him, especially at that position for Virginia. It's going to be if there's any concern for the Cavaliers in being the defending national champions and trying to do what they did a year ago, it's the defensive end. And Coach Tiffany admitted to us this week that even on last year's team, they were so thin at close defense. One of those guys goes down, there's very little chance they do what they did a year ago.
Yeah, he pretty much told Greco, Sastad, and Kaloji, like, you guys cannot get injured. Like, no one can get hurt. And here we are, Kate Sastad, he's out, today dealing with a lower extremity injury. And so that depth starts to really peel off.
Kate Sastad, of course, had a terrific freshman season, type of guy who can be a shutdown defenseman for this UVA team. They're hoping to have him back for the spring. So now offensively, it's Dox Aiken with 20 seconds to go in the half. Now Kraus from the corner. Gets the screen, pass is deflected, but kept alive. Still a little bit of time, 7 seconds to go. 1 second left. Virginia not going to be able to get a shot off. Great defense by Steve DiNapoli, and there's a flag down. Question is, who are they going to get for the flag? DiNapoli, physical there at the end of the half with Regan Quinn.
First half, the score, Team USA 6, the University of Virginia 4.
You think DNAP wants to be in this mix?
Of course, he missed out because of an injury, was supposed to be part of this U.S. team a couple of years ago to go over to Israel, suffered an injury and couldn't make the trip. And see what this flag is before we send you to the half.
Yeah, I think there was just a little bit extra there right at the end on DiNapoli.
So 1 minute penalty to start the third quarter as Virginia will go on the man up. But through 30 minutes, Team USA with a 2-goal lead. We'll be back here with more at the half from U.S. Lacrosse headquarters in Sparks, Maryland. A picture-perfect October afternoon here in Sparks, Maryland. Team USA, the U.S. men's national team, with a 6-4 lead over the defending national champion Virginia Cavaliers here at the half. Travis Eldridge and Matt DeSilva back with you, getting ready for the third quarter as Virginia has gone toe-to-toe with the U.S. team so far, especially on the offensive end, where they've been able to take advantage of their opportunities. Yeah,
and a really good opportunity to start the second half here. They'll start man up with Steve DiNapoli of the U.S. headed to the box toward the end of that first half with an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. It got chippy. He had the last shot, and that landed him in the box. So UVA will start with possession and man up.
Taking a look at this man-up unit for the second time so far today for UVA. Got a new face in Paul Rodriguez in there. One of their second-line attackers. Joined by Regan Quinn, along with Krause.
And Lars Tiffany had a little bit of a dilemma here in terms of how long would he ride his starters in a fall ball setting.
Skip pass across. Dox Aiken probably would like to have that one back. But a backup there, and Virginia keeps it. It's Griffin Harris triggering things in. Krause to Harris. Nice catch. Griffin Harris with a long-range shot. Stays here with Virginia. As Mitch Gordon tracks it down, the senior from Glenarm, Maryland. Dox Aiken floats one into some trouble, but he finds some space, and he finds a goal. Man-up goal for Virginia, and they're within one.
Virginia goal by number 6, Dox Aiken.
Heads-up play by Aiken here. It was a very sloppy man-up possession there for Virginia. Some sloppy exchanges, and this was one of them as USA able to get the ball on the carpet, but Dox Aiken heads-up play to scoop it, come up with it, send the low to high riser, and beat Jack Concannon, new goalie for the U.S. in for this half, and they draw within one.
Got a new goalie for Virginia as well, as Griffin Thompson is checked in. Not a surprise, something we expected to happen for Virginia in this fall ball situation. Alex Rode getting the first half, Griffin Thompson the second. Expect them to split goalies here for this second game against Canada as well. He's got a great battle at the face-off X. Trevor Baptiste. And it's Virginia who comes away with the win. Justin Schwank taking his first face-off of the day, and he gets a win for the Cavs. Great depth at that position for Virginia.
Yeah, Schwank got his money's worth for that one face-off. Good job to hang in there against Baptiste, who's been in so many of those lockups over the course of his career. And that's where the wing play really comes in clutch, because you just don't know where that ball is going to squirt out.
And talk about the competition that Virginia has at that position. You have Gavin Ty, one of the best recruits in the country, comes in as a freshman to challenge Petey LaSalle. And Justin Schwank, the guy who was their guy 2 years ago, has been now at this point looking at a possible third string. You've got great talent there and good depth for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, and Virginia now 8 for 13 on faceoffs in this game. So again, another position where you look at those U.S. Fogos and think they're going to have a decided advantage. Not necessarily so.
It's Paul Rodriguez, his pass a little high, and over and back, gives it to the U.S. Rob Pennell wants to go quickly. Floats it all the way across, and the U.S. just took their eyes off it. It's a turnover. Back comes the Cavs. Feed across. Michael Krause, if he can make that pickup, may have been looking at another goal. Another flag down, though, on the U.S.
And that's an ill-advised penalty for Jake Richard. As you saw, Jake Giulieri, the freshman for Virginia, he was in trouble to begin with. And that back check turns into a turns into a slash, and now he's headed to the box.
So another man-up opportunity for UVA. Aiken scored on this last one. Wants another, but Kincannon with the stop. Jack Kincannon well out of the cage to get the clear. A good ride here by Virginia.
Yeah, nice handle there by Bryce Young at the midfield line. That was a tricky exchange from Kincannon, kind of handcuffed him. That could have been a dangerous situation for the U.S. And again, the clearing game. You see the fans getting into it now for UVA. They love that ride. These guys get after it. And the U.S. having some adventures here right now trying to clear the ball.
Good hustle there by Michael Kraus. Remember, no clearing clock in the international rules, so U.S. had unlimited time there to get it over.
They came up with a term over in Israel. They called it breezy. You know, as when they were clearing, just want everyone to relax. There's no reason to try to push it up the field. Just make the easy pass, take your time, and advance the ball slowly. That's okay in the international game.
Connor Busick, Brent Adams, and Miles Jones, a little miscommunication there. Adams has to go save it. Now over to Miles and some numbers they want to go. Busick skips down, and Pinnell had it on the doorstep, but couldn't catch it. And Kyle Kaloji starts the clear for UVA. Thought it was interesting when talking to Lars Tiffany about Virginia's attitude coming into this Fall Classic, that he gave the captains the option. Do you guys want to learn the international rules, or do you just want to go out there and play, let the refs tell you what to do and what not to do? And they said, we want to learn the international rules. We want to take a little bit of time to figure out how we can play the international game a little bit. And so they went and did a couple of sessions about what to do and how they're different from what they're used to in the college game.
Yeah, in some regard, they've exhibited better patience on offense than the U.S. You see the U.S. guys kind of slipping back into their pro ways, have that early offense mentality. Virginia has been very deliberate.
Aiken moves it along. This is Peter Garno. Tough pass that Kraus couldn't handle.
You know, another place where the international rules come into play is just on the face-offs. You can get away with a lot more. You can move after the set call, so guys kind of roll into the face-off and get an opportunity to get a jump on the whistle. And again, which is why it's so surprising that the U.S., which is experienced in that regard, has been on the losing end of the face-off battle.
Another quality ride by Virginia here. U.S. able to break it, and here comes Connor Kelly. U.S. still looking for their first goal of the third quarter, midway through, as it's Marcus Holman working for Max. Chanichuk, Kelly in there together along with John Haas in that midfield unit. Been an all former Terp midfield that the U.S. has gone with this weekend. Now Kavanaugh draws the double team and a flag. And U.S. going to go man up.
Yeah, just a little too much there from Kaloji. He had the hold on Kavanaugh, kind of that backhand V hold. But once Kavanaugh hit the turf, they threw the flag.
Once again, noting the size of some of these Virginia defensemen. Kaloji 6'4", 205. Not that Matt Kavanaugh towers over anyone, but it's a size disparity there in that matchup. Kavanaugh hit the post.
And what a cool story Kaloji is coming here to UVA as a walk-on, not guaranteed a spot by any stretch. Lars Tiffany admits underestimated him. Didn't give him any kind of guarantee, as he just said you can come, be a non-recruited walk-on, and here he is again, a veteran leader of this unit.
Love those stories. Took a bet on himself, and now it's paying off as he had a chance to help him win a national championship. And UVA here, as we tick toward 5 minutes to go in this third quarter, still just down 1. They scored the lone goal in this third quarter. Skip pass across. Good look, but a save. Kincannon with a stop. And a whistle gives it back to the U.S.
How about the handle there for Griffin Harris, Virginia? Under tons of pressure. Beautiful pass. Unable to convert, but nice to see those secondary attackmen also making a contribution here if you're Lars Tiffany. Again, getting a look at your depth while still trying to win this game.
Shows you some of the depth and how good these recruiting classes have been for Virginia over the last, at this point, you look at 6-7 years. Some sloppiness there for U.S. in the subbing game. Gives it back to Virginia. Cavaliers not going away, and U.S. not doing anything to pull away. Stocks Aiken remains in there along with Michael Kraus, as the Cavs also get a look at some different offensive pieces here in the second half. Remember, they also got another game coming up against Canada about an hour after the end of this one. Here's Jack Peel subbing in into the midfield. Up against Brent Adams. Actually had a step, but he's pushed back. Now Aiken. Beats one. Bounce shot stopped by Kincannon.
Nice stop by Kincannon. That was a tricky save to make because it had a little bit of an off-speed element to it. So Kincannon dropped to the turf, and he was there before the ball even arrived, and he was able to just kind of corral it into his chest.
More good pressure by Virginia here as Connor Busick's in a little bit of trouble.
Let's go, Griffin!
And Tim Muller brings it over midfield.
And you see as the U.S. works some new personnel here in the second half that the exchanges have not been nearly as clean as they were early in the early going. A little bit sloppy in the clear. Penalties. Really not a great third quarter for the U.S. so far.
Still without a goal in this third quarter as we're under 3 minutes to go. Adams looking to change that. Aggressive play by Daniel Parker for UVA.
It's another freshman for UVA standing up to Brent Adams.
And it caused a turnover. Great defensive energy from Virginia, and the sideline loves it.
And you're starting to see a little bit of that national championship swagger coming back for UVA, although the turnover here, as I speak too soon.
A little too much excitement. Quickly on the restart, Henningberg buries it. Tough spot for Griffin Thompson as he tried to get back, and Henningberg makes him pay.
Yeah, and just like that, the UVA crowd quiets here at Tierney Field. I mean, you could sense something special building right there, and then that costly cross-field turnover. Quick restart for USA, and Henningberg down low finishes off the feed from Kavanaugh. So good heads-up play, pick that ball right up. Quick whistle in the international game. Way to find Henningberg and make it a 2-goal lead for the U.S., and that was a break they needed.
Justin Schwank went a little early there. So Greg Gorenlian gets the face-off win. Another possession for the U.S. Under 2 minutes to go in the third. Coach Janowski and his U.S. coaching staff may not like all the nail-biting finishes and close games, but has certainly gotten a chance to see this team and this group of players in some different situations so far this weekend as Griffin Thompson goes low to stop Connor Kelly.
Yeah, and as this U.S. team transitions from the success of 2018, looking forward to, again, the International World Games in 2021 and the World Lacrosse World Championship in 2022, the more looks they can get, the more time they can see how these guys respond in situations of adversity, the better off they're going to be in the selection process.
As we saw against last night, and has been evidenced by the last handful of meetings, anytime the U.S. is going to run into Canada, chances are you're going to be in a good one. Tough look there on the skip pass from Garneau. With 12 seconds left, the U.S. one last chance if they push. Kincannon sends it all the way to the other end, out of bounds. 1 second left. All that's left for Griffin Thompson to do is send the Hail Mary. And through 3 quarters, Team USA with a 2-goal advantage.
Team USA 7.
Not as much scoring here in the third quarter, but Virginia still within a couple of Team USA. The defending national champs, giving the reigning world champions all they can handle. We'll be back with the final 15 minutes as Dox Aiken and the Cavs looking to continue to get ready for the spring of 2020. Are you a fan? If so, there is now a show for you. The show Hit the Fan is not just about fans, it's for the fans. It's a place to have your voice heard about the things you are passionate about. Sports, movies, TV, music, comics, you name it. If fans are talking about it, we are too. The show Hit the Fan airs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on ftfnext.com, and every episode can be found on YouTube. But don't just watch, join the discussion on social media at Show Hit the Fan on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Your opinion could be part of the show. The show Hit the Fan on ftfnext.com. About ready to start the fourth quarter here at U.S. Lacrosse headquarters. Game 3 of this Saturday Fall Classic lineup, the third of 4 games. Travis Eldridge and Matt DeSilva back with you. As Virginia, the defending national champions in Division I, is giving the U.S. all they can handle. A 7-5 game here as we enter the final 15 minutes.
Yeah, they've controlled the face-off battle. That's been part of the equation there. They also upped the feisty factor in there in the third quarter. You know, on the ride, getting the crowd into it, extending at all areas of the field, and creating some headaches there for the U.S. A pretty turnover-plagued third quarter.
And Virginia takes an early timeout here in the fourth to preserve possession as Will Rock was in a little bit of trouble. When you look at Virginia, and we had a chance to talk to Coach Tiffany about the Penn State scrimmage last week, which very well could be the number 1 and 2 teams in the country as we enter this coming spring. He described Penn State as wow when he talked about that offense. Not surprising with all they have coming back. I think I would describe Virginia as wow with athletically how they've matched up with the U.S. here today.
Yeah, they've really put on a good show. I mean, the confidence that they'll take from this, regardless of the result, will serve them well through the rest of the fall and into the spring. But, boy, that Penn State team. I mean, who's number 1 come preseason? I'm not sure. You got your defending
Who's your number 1? Who do you like?
I think you have to go with Penn State just because of, you know, they were a juggernaut last year. They were a buzzsaw until they ran a foul in the NCAA semifinals there. But you know, the Grant Ament and Mac O'Keefe tandem, you know, Lars Tiffany was saying that they're operating at even another level this fall. So those guys have the hunger to go with the talent, and they're really going to put on a show this spring.
And if you want to see a little look at Penn State, you can see Jack Kelly coming up in the next game. He's part of this Canadian roster. Saw a little bit of him last night sprinkled in. Guessing we'll see a little bit of him at the midfield position for the Canadian national team as they take on Virginia here coming up at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Lax Sports Network. With Penn State, you could argue that they were a bad half away in that first half of the NCAA semifinal from playing for a national championship last year. It's coming out of the timeout. Virginia gets possession. Continue to see some new faces sprinkled in for the Cavaliers as they look to get a look at just about everybody they've got on this roster. Also trying to preserve some legs. They got to play again here in not too long. Here's Schellenberger, top overall recruit, freshman from Charlottesville. As Matt Moore checks back in at the attack spot as well. Skip pass comes all the way over midfield for a turnover. Hendenberg looking to go quickly. Look out for Newman, and that is a top shelf snipe. Holy cow.
Team USA goal by
That is some serious heat. The hardest shooter in the Premier Lacrosse League. How many times did we see it this summer? Newman taking advantage of unsettled situations. Look at the extension he gets with that pole and just the velocity. Wow, that was a serious heater.
Be honest, I was down on the field before the game, and he was one of the long poles out there taking a bunch of rips, and I would not want to step in front of that shot.
And he picks his spots. 5 2-point goals for the Chaos this season. Shot 5 for 14, so it's not like he's bombs away all the time.
Pretty good percentage.
Picks his spots really well.
Another face-off win here for Virginia, though. Peyton Cormier battling. Flag down. Keep it with the Cavs, and a man upcoming for Virginia.
It looks like they're going to send Will Haas off the field. Or are they waving it off?
No flag. Just a loose ball push. So Virginia keeps possession, but not a man-up situation. And Cormier triggers things in. Once again, Peyton Cormier, one of these new-look guys, but he has it absolutely stripped away. Not a legal procedure as Cormier's stick went flying, so Virginia keeps it. That was a great takeaway check.
Oh, yeah, Hawes and Cormier having a great battle right now. And he had, just as he was getting rid of the ball, Hawes checked his stick out of his hand. And those guys are going toe-to-toe.
Shot just high. Peter Garno's getting some run here in the second half. Another freshman from the Haverford School, same school as Dox Aiken. Matt Moore, nice stop by Kincannon.
Yeah, really nice save. Kincannon playing a really flat arc there. He pretty much just blockaded the entire goal line, stuck his leg out.
Newman once more. That one significantly more off there as it went up toward the middle of the backstop. Almost found its way into the Fan Fest.
Definite souvenir potential anytime Jared Newman has the ball.
Miles Jones in there in the midfield unit along with Brent Adams, Connor Busick. At attack, Kavanaugh, Will Manny, and Jules Henningsberg for Team USA. Been interesting to see how the U.S. is fooled with some of the combinations throughout these 2 days. Miles Jones couldn't handle that pass. Right place, right time for Busick.
Pretty quiet weekend so far for both Busick and Jones. Two guys, again, that were fringe players in 2018, almost making that squad.
Busick, a guy who had a really good summer with the Atlas. Miles Jones goes back to try to pick that up. Instead, it's Virginia winning ground ball. This is Will Corey, another freshman from Charlottesville, Virginia. Hometown kid getting to stay home and play in college. Now Ian Laviano back in there.
Extended looks in this game for Peyton Cormier. You could tell they see him being a prominent player this spring. I mean, he's getting a lot of time out on the field here. U.S. showing him respect, switching to a long pole matchup.
This is Michael Biankowski. Ian Laviano wanted it on the backside. Instead, it's moved along here for the Cavaliers. Now, Peyton Cormier listed as an attackman, but with the attack unit that they have, you have to think Virginia could try to get creative, maybe run him out of the box, see different ways to get him in the mix, especially after what he's done this fall.
Yeah, they can play the matchup game with him, and he's an overall, he's a big guy. He's a very good athlete, though. 4-sport star in high school up in Oakville, Ontario.
Another stop by Kincannon, this time on Regan Quinn. Miles Jones to Adams, step down, and the bounce shot finds the back of the net. Second goal of the afternoon for Brent Adams.
Team USA goal by number 8, Brent Adams, his second goal of the game.
And he might be the MVP of this game for Team USA. He's got his second of the day, Brent Adams does, and he's playing all over the field, defense, offense. Again, Virginia unwisely, slow to slide, knowing that Brent Adams can bring it from the outside, and he uses the turf to stick that one and give USA a nice cushion here now, up 4 with just about 8 minutes remaining.
The face-off X now getting a look at Luke Brugel from Great Falls, Virginia. Face-off win, though, for the U.S. Good ball movement, but the extra pass a little too long. Heads-up play, though, to keep it in by Matt Landis. But Virginia wins the race to the loose ball, and Ian Laviano and this offense can go back to work. Matt Moore draws the double team. Jeff Connor trying to save it on the sideline and does.
See, and Connor's got the short stick. Is he going to defer, or is he going to take it to the rack?
Low pass, couldn't be handled, and the U.S. pick up the ground ball. That was one of the focal points for this Virginia staff, is as different guys move along. Ryan Conrad, a guy who could take the ball when they needed it too in late game situations. Could Jeff Connor become a more of an initiator now as he continues to grow up through this program, now entering his sophomore season?
Yeah, and he's shown to have that potential.
Great takeaway check there by Newman.
Former high school player of the year, national high school player of the year was Connor at Strathaven in Pennsylvania.
Pennell, great ball movement. Marcus Ullman finishes. Tic-tac-toe for Team USA. They're now up 5.
Team USA goal by number 1, Marcus Holman.
Great patience here by the USA on the slow break.
Jules Henningberg.
Coming out of that midfield transition. You got basically a 4-on-4, and then the trailer is Jake Richard. He gets the one more, and then it's down to Henningberg for the finish. I'm sorry, Holman.
Henningberg getting assist. He's had a nice 3-point afternoon so far with a couple of goals and there that assist. We talked about it last night. Henningberg kind of looked at as an X factor for this U.S. program as Team USA tries to clear here. Trying to figure out where he could possibly fit in with the international rules. What could his role be as they look ahead to 2022 in the World Championships?
Yeah, and you clearly got Pennell as someone who's sort of pegged for that point behind role. But you need more than one guy, someone who can be a little bit more versatile, maybe dodge from the wings and also operate behind, and that's what Henningberg brings.
Got a flag down. And it's an offsides call against Virginia. So Team USA going on the man up now as well. We're under 5 minutes to go in the fourth. And Coach John Danowski wants to talk things over. He takes a timeout. What are your impressions of what we've seen from the U.S. last night and today?
I think as opposed to last night, their transition between the lines has been an ignition point, and I think it's a little bit of a carryover. They realized, I think there was so much talk about the international rules and keeping it slow that you forget that at times you can inject tempo, and they've done that in really good spots today. In this second half, Brent Adams and Jared Newman in particular have been catalysts, moving the ball from defense to offense and really taking advantage of that strength for the U.S. side.
I think it's also been interesting, the face-off position for the U.S. Obviously, when you look at internationally, they have probably the best selection of talent at the face-off position to choose from, but they struggled at times against Canada and Justin Inacio, and Virginia has given them a challenge here today as well.
Yeah, and that's why coming into today, we kind of highlighted wing play as something that was kind of crucial, because it's not just a one-man game. It's a 3-on-3 face-off, especially in the international game when in the face-off rules they allow you to roll in and lock up a little bit more and take some liberties. They can really mix it up. Last night, Inacio was fantastic for Canada. I mean, he certainly made a case for himself being in the conversation for this group moving forward. Obviously, very well heralded at Ohio State and has done some great things in the Big Ten there. So he's got some time to continue to grow into that role. And, of course, UVA, no slouches. We mentioned their depth at the face-off position. With LaSala and Schwank and Gavatai, clearly a very strong option there as well as a freshman. So I think we've had phenomenal face-off play throughout this weekend so far. But if you're the U.S., you'd like to see maybe again get a little bit more organized on the wings and whether it's boxing out, getting some more clean face-offs forward, doing what they can. They've had some timely wins, none timelier than Joe Nardella last night on the game winner.
That's true. Between Nardella's one that eventually ended up in his game-winning goal, and then along with Gurenlian's in that fourth quarter where he scored, a couple of very timely face-off wins for Team USA to help them complete that comeback effort. Here on the man up, it's Pinnell and Connor Kelly at the top of the box. Over to the wing, and Chanachuk with the high heat. Man up goal for Team USA to extend this lead.
Michael Chanachuk with the assist.
He's a nice option to have out there on the man up. We talked about his range earlier, the need for those stretch shooters. For Chanachuk coming out of the midfield, of course, over in Israel, we saw Ryan Brown doing a lot from the outside to force defenses to extend. You have to respect Chanachuk's outside shot. Led the PLL with 7 two-point goals, had 26 points on the season for the Whip Snakes. And if they can get him going, that would be a good addition to this U.S. fold.
Ball pushed forward by the U.S. Trevor Baptiste eventually picks up the ground ball. Another face-off win for the United States. They keep possession now under 4 minutes to go. Connor Kelly's vision also has been impressive to me over the course of the 2 days. Had that beautiful assist here in the first quarter last night, and it was something we saw develop later in his college career, and I feel like that's continuing to develop for him.
Yeah, very, very Schreiber-like. Very, very Schreiber-like trajectory for him in terms of developing that aspect of his game late in college and into the pros.
Good effort there defensively by John Fox against Miles Jones. That gets the Virginia fans excited.
And Tom Schreiber, by the way, is here this weekend for the U.S. He's injured, got hurt in the PLL playoffs, couldn't suit up in the indoor championships for USA, but that hasn't stopped him from showing up, supporting his team, kind of another quintessential teammate guy. And, he'd love to be out here right now, but he'll certainly be in the fold.
One of the great people around the sport of lacrosse, on top of being one of the best players in the world, if not the best player. Brent Adams along this wing. Skipped across to Miles Jones. Uses the body, but Griffin Thompson saves it. Good body save by Griffin Thompson to get Virginia the ball back. Maybe a final possession or two here for the Cavaliers. Regan Quinn, Michael Biankowski in there in the midfield.
A really quiet game for Matt Moore. He's been largely neutralized by Matt Landis. Of course, he's not the first to experience that.
Not
Just
exactly an easy matchup.
Just as Connor Fields, right?
Here is Matt Moore looking, see if he can create something, and he does. He must have heard you, Matt. Matt Moore on the board for the first time today.
Virginia goal by number 5.
That's that sidearm that Coach Tiffany was hinting at, some of the fooling with his release points.
Yeah, and he does a great job to get to a position where he can use Landis as a screen. And again, with that sidearm release, it's a tricky delivery for Kincannon to pick up, and he deposits it in the far side of the goal.
Lars Tiffany said the sky is the limit for Matt Moore when we talked to him this week, when talking about him trying to change it around with the release points, whether it's while trying to score or on the feeds. Something you see Tom Schreiber do so effectively. Be really interested to see if we get to the spring, as he has the fall to work, see what we get when we see Matt Moore.
Yeah, it's kind of scary if you're Virginia opponents to think that there's untapped potential coming out of Matt Moore, who's coming off the first 40-40 season of anyone in UVA history. Set the single-season scoring record, and he's only getting better.
Started his Cavaliers career in the midfield and then moved up to attack a year ago and didn't miss a beat. Connor, a long-range shot stopped by Kincannon.
And again for Cannon, a big guy, 6'3", 210, but he plays that flat arc, so he takes up a lot of space, especially down low when he's able to get to the ground.
5 seconds to go. U.S. going to run out the time. That one almost went in, but it stays out. Team USA walking away with an 11-6 win. They'll celebrate alongside Jack Kincannon as Team USA follows up the dramatic win last night against Canada with a win over the reigning NCAA champions. Back here with Matt DeSilva, I'm Travis Eldridge. Matt, when you let's look at the U.S. This was they were in a game here in the first half. Virginia tried some other guys in the second half. What does Team USA take away from today?
Much like last night, they have to understand and when they can pick their spots and exert their authority when it comes to transition. You know, the Greg Goremlian goal served as a turning point in momentum last night. Today it was Jared Newman with the blast from outside. So they have to know that they win between the 30s, they're going to win the game.
Let's take a look at some of these highlights as we look at what Virginia was able to do as well, because a lot of bright spots for this Cavaliers team, including Dox Aiken, who athletically we knew he could hang with Team USA, but certainly showed that today.
Yeah, he certainly didn't shy away from this encounter today. The 3-time All-American had an outstanding all-around game.
On the Virginia side as well, Griffin Thompson coming into the second half, the second goalie to make some saves, but when you try to step in front of a Jared Newman shot, it's just not going to work real well.
Yeah, and so that provided the 2-goal cushion, and then the U.S. kind of caught its stride from there. Virginia working in some secondary players, that has something to do with it as well. Really impressed with Brent Adams today, both sides of the field. He got a lot of minutes, and he made the most of them.
U.S. able to continue to pad out that lead here late in the fourth quarter. Some great ball movement. Marcus Holman also had a nice game with a couple of goals. But don't forget about Matt Moore. He was held relatively quiet by Garrett Epple for a good chunk of this game, but he scores late. Get him feeling good, as Coach Lars Tiffany told us. Sky is the limit when you look at Matt Moore, and we look forward to seeing him this spring. We'll also see him in Virginia coming up in about an hour from now, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, as Virginia takes on the Canadian national team coming up here on Lax Sports Network. But for now, for Matt DeSilva, our entire crew here in Sparks, Maryland, Travis Eldridge signing off. U.S., the men's national team, 11-6 winners over Virginia. We'll see you in about an hour here for the final game of Saturday's action at the Fall Classic.